Hi, my name is Mr. Kendrick. This is Catholic Moral Thinking, and today we're going to be talking about the virtue of temperance. Now, when you look up temperance in a dictionary, sometimes you'll find it says abstaining from alcohol. And this comes from an application of the word temperance in the 19 teens and 20s for the temperance movement, which advocated abstaining from and illegalizing alcohol. And that led to prohibition for a period of time in the United States. And that's not what we're talking about, because abstinence kind of shows that there's no good here and that we must reject this thing entirely. And the heart behind temperance is not abstinence. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Secondly, you'll often see temperance defined as moderation. And this also isn't the best, although it's a pretty good definition, because for many things, we do them moderately. And that's a key to doing them well. So for instance, watching YouTube sometimes in smaller chunks can be really good. Now, scrolling on YouTube mindlessly for hours is not. Kind of similarly, eating junk food can be okay in moderation. Every once in a while, it's not too bad. And this is something to remember. Now, other things like exercise, taking moments of silence, having good conversations with friends, although you should be doing these all the time, that doing them in great amounts is good. That there are things that we can want more of continually, and that the emphasis isn't going to be on bringing them down, it'll be on highlighting them. And so this is important to remember, that when I think of moderation, it often seems to be like bringing everything into the middle, which isn't always the case. So for instance, when you think about hard drugs like meth, you do need to abstain. Like that it's not about bringing it, doing like an average or a moderate amount of meth. That it is about abstaining. So there are some things that we should do a lot. There are some things that we should do only every once in a while. And there are some things that we should never do. And this is important to understanding temperance. And so for class, I'm going to find a great place for myself. When we define temperance, and this is pretty close to moderation, but I find it gives me a little bit more focus as to what to do. Rather than just moderation in all things, temperance is the practice of enjoyment of things in the right time, with the right amount, and in the right way. And one of the keys here is the heart of it is in enjoyment, that we should enjoy our food, our drink, we should enjoy nature, we should enjoy the clothes that we have, we should enjoy the home that we have, we should enjoy games on our iPad, we should enjoy our work, and that there are keys to that that are the heart of temperance. And if you think about this theologically, this is coming from a solid understanding of Genesis 1, that in the days of creation, God often ends with this statement, and God saw that it was good. And a lot of what temperance is about is recognizing the goodness in creation and the creativity of God and of humans, and recognizing it, enjoying it. And so this is really crucial to remember, because it's easy to forget that it's about enjoyment. And so just to give you an example of how this can be applied, that enjoying a game on your iPad, enjoying a game that's designed by artists and designers for enjoyment, for entertainment, is good. And in the proper time, as a rest from work, as a time to connect with friends, this can be really good. Now, playing it in class, it's the wrong time. The thing to do there is to focus on the class and to do things that support working together with your classmates and with your teacher to learn the material and develop your critical thinking. And like if you've played a game in class, that that as you play it, you're not able to focus on it. And if you play one of those games where you have to be present the whole time, you're going to do poorly at the game. And also, there's a level of anxiety that's going on the entire time, which isn't good for you. And it hampers your enjoyment. Kind of similarly, playing all day at a game, you often kind of like start to feel this anxiety at playing it so long. And this is a problem. This is a sign that we're not practicing temperance. And kind of similarly, it's important to focus on the right way. And so you can see here that if you play in anger and if you play like really aggressively your games on your iPad and you troll people as you do it, like it's not very fun for you. It might seem like it, and it definitely takes away from everyone else's experience. And so, whether it's time with friends, whether it's a sport, whether it's a nice cup of calming jasmine tea, the key to temperance is enjoyment. It's about enjoying things well. And so I've kind of gone over some of these already, but I want to just go over them again. And so what might qualify something from being good and enjoyable? And the first thing to look at is it giving you anxiety? And this is important because when we think about the rider and the elephant, that anxiety is often a sign that your rider and your elephant are misaligned. And this isn't always a bad thing, but it is a sign that, for instance, if you're looking, as the picture shows at social media, that being in that dopamine hit, random, positive reinforcement can cause you a lot of anxiety. You look at the phone again, see like, oh, like how many likes did I have? And maybe you don't like that you're attached to that, and that can give you anxiety. And it can make things not as fun as they normally would be. And the reason why I say, like, pay attention to it, but don't run by that, is that oftentimes if you're moving against your community, if you're moving against like a narrative that you find yourself in, that's going to cause anxiety. And that's not always bad. So for instance, US society tends to be very much about busyness. Like it's good to always be doing something. And taking a break and enjoying a rest or a vacation can feel anxious. You can feel some anxiety with that. And that's not necessarily good. That moving through that anxiety to rest well is good. And so the anxiety can be helpful, but it's not 100% indicator of that you're not doing things in temperance. Another big question to ask yourself is, and this one tends to be a little bit more solid, is are you doing this to avoid something else? So you see here, this person's playing Among Us, but they got their paper due at 6 p.m. And if you're doing something to avoid something, that's generally going to create anxiety, and it's going to hamper the enjoyment and definitely going to be an indicator that you're not doing it at the right time. And kind of the third thing is, does it highlight something negative? So you have the example here of gossip. So if you're sharing private details about someone or enjoying someone else's failure, this is negative. And when you're enjoying or highlighting something negative, the result will not be good. So for instance, I play this video game with one of my friends. He gets really angry during the game. And for a while, I'll be honest, I kind of enjoyed like attacking his people and then hearing him blow up on, through the speakers. And then at the same time, like over time, I noticed that it was eroding something, that I'm enjoying his anger, his rage. And although it is kind of funny, it isn't actually bringing us closer together. It isn't helping him become better. And I can see it actually being a small like erosion within our friendship. And over the last few weeks, I've kind of worked on not enjoying that and moving more towards like enjoying the positives of playing games with friends. And the last one is a little bit more serious because when we think about temperance, one of the things that we're avoiding and working really consciously against is addiction. And one of the things to pay attention to as you're enjoying things, as you're pursuing temperance, is, are you experiencing a lack of control? Because as you're going through, as you're developing these habits, as you're surrounding yourself with a community and starting to believe a narrative, that it's going to become difficult to direct your elephant. And when we understand that, like once you've developed all of these habits and dopamine receptors and things in your brain towards a particular way, it's going to be really difficult, even if you know that what you're doing is wrong, to do something else. And so when we think about addiction to drugs, addiction to social media, addiction to alcohol, addiction to whatever, that this starts with a small, usually, lack of control. And so these are important to recognize, especially early on. And so these are kind of 4 signs to show that you might not be in temperance. Another thing to think about as you're going through the process of enjoying things, and this is mainly focused on things, whether it be a cup of coffee, whether it be a book, whether it be clothes, etc. These are things to think about to kind of more ensure that you're in temperance. And so one thing to think about is, where is the thing that you're enjoying coming from? And this is really connected a little bit to gratitude. So for instance, if you consider your clothes, where are they coming from? Are they sustainably and responsibly sourced? Or do they support oppressive structures? And if you discover that they do, what can you do to move away from that? These are things that can increase the enjoyment, because our enjoyment of life, of society, shouldn't rest on oppression of people or the environment. This is not the way things should be. And then kind of in the middle, why do I keep saying kind of? In the middle, the question to ask is, while you have it, am I using this thing well? And likewise, am I valuing people? We should not use people. We should use things well and really value the dignity of people. And so, for instance, with clothes, am I, wearing the clothes that I have? If I have a closet full of clothes I don't wear, these clothes are not being used appropriately. And then kind of similarly, am I putting too much emphasis on fashion? Is it becoming too much of a thing that I'm not able to use my clothes well? I'm not able to value people well. And the last thing to think about, and this goes well with clothing, this goes well with any consumable good, is, where is it going? Where does it go after I use it? And so, do you donate these clothes to Goodwill? Do they just go into a landfill? Do you resell them at Buffalo Exchange or Poshmark or something like that? And these questions are important, because when we think about temperance and enjoying things well, it does include how we got it, how we use it when we have it, and where it goes. So I have some practices for you to think about as you go about pursuing temperance. So the first thing, and I've kind of already gone over this, is to use things for what they are for. If you're doing this, you're generally in the heart of temperance. So if you have food and you eat it, that's good. If you have food and you don't eat it and it goes into the compost, that tends to be good, because that is often where food, if you think about apples that naturally fall from the tree, they go into the ground. This isn't a bad thing. And I have this example here that if you have a truck and you live in an urban area, this isn't necessarily a bad thing. You're not using it for what it's for if you're just using it to go to work and back. A more smaller, more fuel-efficient car would be better in this case. But a truck is for moving large things from place to place. If you use it for that, then it is reasonable for you to have it. Kind of similarly, if you have a big house, the purpose of a house is to house people. So if you have a lot of people coming over, if you provide rooms for people who are visiting, if you have a big family, then having a big house can be reasonable, can be in the heart of temperance. If you don't, and it's just a place with rooms to store all your stuff in, that's a sign that you're out of the heart of temperance. The next practice, and this is more about time and how to really enjoy work and to enjoy rest, is that oftentimes we focus on scheduling our work time. And perhaps if you struggle with meaningful work and meaningful rest, perhaps the emphasis should be on the opposite, that you schedule your time for rest so that way it can be uninterrupted and focused and deserved. And then the rest of the time you move towards productivity. So you put the emphasis on scheduling rest, and then the rest of the time you can recognize that you should be working, and you also have something to look forward to. This practice is coming from Cal Newport and his work on deep work. Something else that's really powerful, and I use this a lot, is practicing seasonal or weekly abstinence from something. Now, for Catholics, we have a lot of this inbuilt into Catholic culture. For instance, Catholics traditionally abstained from meat on Fridays. We're still called to give up something on Friday in memory of Jesus' death on Friday. But yeah, this is an example of a weekly abstinence in order to give us more clarity, more focus. Similarly, we have the seasons of Lent and of Advent, which are times where we might abstain from something or do something extra in order to increase focus on God. Also, people use New Year's resolutions, which can be helpful. Now, doing something for a whole year can be not super successful. And so, honestly, you can use the month of January, or when you think about the school year, using the month of September as months to do a focus practice of abstinence from something, or of really simplifying in a big way something that you do. I do this through Lent. I actually use Lent as a trial for new lifestyle choices. A while ago, I decided to stop eating meat during Lent, and I would eat meat only on Sundays in celebration of Jesus' resurrection. And eventually, I've made this a complete lifestyle. So I did it for 3 Lents in a row. And after the 3rd Lent, I was like, I can live this way, and I enjoy living this way. And I think it's good to live this way. And so I'm going to continue doing it. And I think this is a really helpful thing to be like your trial focuses for practices. Now, as we said above with the focus on Genesis and things being good and focusing on gratitude, that one of the things that you can do to practice temperance is in your prayers, carefully consider and be thankful for the sources of the things that you have. That one example would be, as you go to pray for a meal, you could do like the standard prayer before meals, or you could like imaginatively consider where the ingredients came from and the people that may have interacted with it as it got to you. And this can be a way of showing gratitude to God and gratitude to other people for bringing things into the place where we can enjoy them. Another key to temperance is generosity and to delayed gratification. So generosity and delayed gratification. And so one good habit to get into is when you receive money, whether it be through a paycheck or through a gift, give a little bit to others. Practice generosity, and then also save a little bit. By practicing generosity and saving, we recognize that it's not all about us, and it cultivates this understanding that what we have is gift and what we have is shared. And we can also move against this need to constantly be gratified. And this can give us more control and also more enjoyment. The next one, and this one is really a beautiful one to enjoy things well, especially after you've simplified a bit, or if you don't have many things already. And so for things that you enjoy, whether you enjoy fashion, if you enjoy coffee, if you enjoy cars, transfer your enjoyment from owning many things about it to the process. So if you love cars, perhaps your goal shouldn't be to own a bunch of cars. Perhaps you should focus on researching cars, learning how to work on cars, savoring and lengthening the process of buying. If you love coffee, you could research the way coffee is made, from the way it's grown to the way it's roasted to different styles of preparing it. This doesn't cost very much money, and it allows you to be a connoisseur and really get the highest benefit and enjoyment from the things that you enjoy, while not having a disordered connection to it, while not eventually getting to use something for what it's not for. And so this one I highly recommend for people. Another one to do is to look at things that you have, including your work, including your times of play, and really take a creative approach to your environment. That a lot of things that we do in life can seem like drudgery or not enjoyment based on our mindset. And if you have a playful and a creative attitude towards the things that you have to do and that you get to do, this can be really beneficial. So gamifying chores, gamifying work can be a real positive, or even turning it into a collaborative or an adventure can be something really wonderful. And then the last one I recommend for you, and I'm going to move myself over here, is really to practice enjoying things without owning them. That, like some of the other practices, that part of what we're recognizing here is the separation between the gifts, the things of this world, and ourselves. And that I can enjoy something without owning it, without completely controlling it. And for instance, parks are a really wonderful way to enjoy something without owning it. Going to the library and taking out books is a wonderful way to enjoy something without owning it. That noticing the good things that other people have and just celebrating that they have it without coveting it, without being jealous of it, without all of those things is really wonderful, is really positive. And cultivating all of these things can be really beneficial to your enjoyment and to your relationship with God and with others. Thank you so much for listening to this practice of temperance, and I'll see you next time.